creating content, it's such a good thing. It can help you bring in new customers, bringing loyalty and everything. But one thing it's very important when you think about content, it's planning the content. How will you do it, from for who you will do it, and how can you reuse that content? So if it's something that you want to know a little bit more, please stay tuned, because in a moment we will talk about this. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the special marketing live show. I think today we have the fourth episode of the sixth season. And today, let me see if I can say it right. We have Christian Karasiewicz. I think it's out. He's on the basement waiting to join me. And yes, this is so important. And I made this mistake lots of times, which was, let me just make content, make content, make content. And I didn't had a plan to that. So I didn't know if what was I was talking about was something that people were searching for. I didn't know that if I want to reuse the content, I should plan ahead. So this reusing, repurposing the content, it's most efficient process. So today we're gonna talk about this with Christian. Please let me know, by the way, where are you seeing us, on which platform. Let me know if everything is okay. And meanwhile, I'm gonna bring Christian. Let me see if he's there. Okay, there you go, Christian.
Hey
Welcome.
Marco, thank you. How you doing, by the way?
Very good, and you?
Doing very well, actually. So I got to say, I like the intro video you had. It felt very mysterious. Felt like I was uh, felt like I was in like a castle or something like, or it actually either felt like a castle or it had like a James Bond feel to it. So very mysterious. So I like that.
Absolutely. Well, you have a very nice hoodie.
Yeah. As do you, by the way. I like your hoodie, by the way. Curse, we're in the. So I get this up on
Yes,
camera.
yes, yes.
Got that?
This. Oh, I never did
It's
do
our.
this right. Okay, it's that this. Okay, okay. Really nice hoodie. Well,
Yes.
Christian, thank you so much for being here. It's a truly a pleasure. It
Thanks a lot
it
for having me.
it it's being a time that I wanted to bring you to my show. So thank you and welcome. I will ask you please to introduce yourself, and then we can go to the conversation.
Sure. So let's see. I'm the content marketing manager for StreamYard. So that's actually the show I think, or sorry, it's the software you're using for your
Absolutely.
podcast. Um, I also run a podcast called Launch Your Live with Jim Fuse, and also run another digital media agency called Social Chefs. So that's where I have a weekly talk show called Social Chatter, where we talk all things social media. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Very good. And so let's dive into the conversation. And there's
Sure.
this thing that before talking about planning, I think it's good to talk about the advantage of using content, because if you don't understand why you should make content, I think it's harder to understand that you should plan it. So, in your opinion, which advantage do you think that people like entrepreneurs, managers, even freelancers can get from making content?
Say that question again. It was cutting out. What was that?
Um, which advantage do you find by that you can get by creating content?
Well, I mean, the key thing is this: people have to remember when they're, for example, a lot of people they don't invest in a website. They don't invest in having an online presence. Their online presence, for the most part, is on social media channels. And while social media channels give you the ability to, get some exposure, it also comes at a cost. And the cost is that you don't own the platform. So therefore, you're at the mercy of the platform, and if you have to think about it, I guess think of it like this. The platform can only support so much content at one time. And so if for example, you and your network are all posting at the same time, you're all competing for a very small sliver of attention from the people who are following you. And so, what's important about creating content is that when you put that on your website, it opens up the opportunity for you to have more exposure. And what I mean by that is if you post content on your website, or you have a website at least, you have a stronger chance of getting ranked on Google, for example, getting your website come up or the content you're publishing on your website versus just putting it on social media and expecting everyone to just see it, because they're not necessarily, here's the thing, not everyone's going to see it. They're going to, and then all this social media channels, they're going to want you to pay for ads, which there's nothing wrong with paying for ads, but you shouldn't have to do that if you have good content that you publish on your own website.
Absolutely. Winter time.
It is winter time, yes.
So
here's the thing. I need a smoother way to do that on a live stream. I guess maybe I can turn the camera off.
Just turn around.
I know, right?
And I have this because I have some allergic things.
Yeah.
And on winter and on spring, it's amazing because my nose is like a source. It's amazing.
But yeah. So I mean, as far as content, you want to be creating content, and here's the great thing. I mean, if we're talking live video, live video is one of those things where that is content that can be created. And it's an easy way to create content. But you don't just want to create the content and just leave it there. That's the key thing that I want to drive home with people. It's not just a one-off, let me make a social media post, let me make a live video, for example, and just, hey, it's all of a sudden going to get seen. You still have to, that's like, honestly, that's 10% of the work when you look at it. It's not just, hey, I made a video, because most people think, well, hey, I made a video, that's done. That's 100%. Not even close, because you need to, you make the content, then you have the heavy lifting, which is the promoting it, getting it on the right channels, helping surface it. So that's what I think is most important right there, is just making sure you have a dedicated presence for yourself.
Absolutely. And the other thing, and let's talk about this season, and we can talk for Americans, for instance, season you had a few weeks ago, which were the Thanksgiving. So I think one of the problems is, I don't know there, but here, one of the problems is that you don't plan ahead the things. For instance, so we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, and we start creating content about the topic the week before.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you think this process should be to plan properly the content to be? It's not to be released in Christmas. Is to make the effect on Christmas.
Right. And you can hear me okay, right? My camera, for some reason, my camera shut off, so I'm bringing that back. But so when we talk about planning out content, this doesn't just apply to written content for a blog, social media content, live video. All of this needs to be planned ahead of time. And let's put it in the perspective of, like, let's say Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So Black Friday, that's, the day after Thanksgiving. It's typically, and most people, like, I guess I don't know if they realize what it is, but Black Friday is when, it's the one day of the year when a business should theoretically be in the black versus being in the red, meaning they're losing money, for example. It's typically, that's kind of how it was. And so the thing you have to remember here is that if I want to insert myself on those days, I'm not the day of, or even the week of, I'm not planning out the content. I need to be planning it out months in advance. So for example, and I'm not saying you have to work 6 months ahead. Everybody works different, but I can attest to this. If you work ahead, you will I think you'll be much more relaxed when it actually gets here, and I think it will also help make things less stressful. So for example, if it's Black Friday or Cyber Monday, I want to be planning that out ahead in August, September, October at the latest. And yeah, I might not, for example, if I'm a business and let's say I'm in the business of, let's say I run a coupon site, okay, and my site makes, let's say I make, like I make my revenue off of having all of my, all the coupons for Black Friday and all the deals and stuff like that ahead of time. Well, okay, I kind of have to set up the framework ahead of time and then work, when that actually gets closer as that information comes out there. So I might be really busy on the day of or the day before, things like that. However, if I'm not a business that really does the work, the majority of my work on Black Friday, then I want to be planning my content ahead of time. I want to be planning if I'm the business. For example, I want to be talking about if I've got a Black Friday sale, I want to make sure that I've already got that planned out. I got the landing pages built. I've got the shopping cart ready. I've got the products, and then I've got the social aspect and the live video to help promote that. And all of this is done ahead of time. Now, I'll even give you another example here. So if I'm let's use I'm going to work backwards here. So, okay, we got Christmas, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We've got, let's say it's Halloween or even back to school. Back to school typically happens in August. And so what people need to be doing is, here's the thing. Over the summer months, June, July, and late August, for the most part, people are on vacation. And so that is, and I guess right now it's kind of hard to say, well, people are on vacation. But right now, if people are, if they're either on vacation or like that's kind of the months where there's not a whole lot of activity, that's when you need to be planning out your back to school. And so this way, when back to school rolls around, you know exactly what you're going to be doing. The month of August, you're not running around. Instead, you've got all the content prepared. If we go back even further, if we go through like holidays, for example, if we go to, let's see, Valentine's Day, New Year's, any of that, it's already being planned a few months beforehand. So the key thing I can't stress enough to people is you need to create a content calendar and you need to be planning ahead with what you're going to be doing for those particular events. And the reason you want to do that, and I think my camera's going to come back here, by the way. Actually, I'll fix that in a second. You need to be planning ahead. The bottom line is this: you need to plan ahead, and you need to be, so you can, do work ahead.
Absolutely. Don't you think that sometimes there's this misunderstanding about, and while you were talking, I write this down here.
Yeah.
There's a misconception, and some people think that planning is scripting the content.
Here's the thing. I will say this for my own live show. I script out my show. My show Social Chatter that I run, it's scripted. It's scripted to a certain point. For example, there's a intro video, there's an opening, I then move into topics, which those change, and then the ending is typically the same. But it's a format. So I create basically run of shows, how I want things to run, and so what I do is, it's yes, in a way it's sort of scripted out. But I guess maybe it's more like better saying it's a template or a framework that you work off of. And the same thing needs to happen, for example, for content or anything you're creating or anything that you're going to be doing. So, for example, if I'm going to have a live video, maybe instead of just a lot of these random live videos that people do, I need to be thinking big picture and think, okay, let's make a show about something. So, for example, I'll use StreamYard as an example. Like we have multiple shows that we run. We have a town hall, and then we have StreamYard Spotlight, and then we have StreamYard Connect, and we have StreamYard Tech Talk, and then we also have Learn with StreamYard. And so each of these are different shows with a different purpose. And what we do with each show is, well, one is, for example, one talks about where we interview people who are using StreamYard. So we learn more about the customer. And then on the flip side of that, we have a tech talk one where we have guest Daniel Glickman has a guest on, and that guest talks tech. And a lot of times it's a very, like, I think the last one was using, I think it was using multiple cameras. So for example, that's a whole nother top, that right there is, it's scripted in the sense that, like, we know the format, the way it's going to work, but the information in it's going to be a little different each time. My Learn with StreamYard show that I do with Julie, that one, for example, is where we had a topic. So we knew what our intro was going to be, our outro, but hey, the topic's going to change. You know, we might have a guest on and so forth. So you definitely, you know, it's sort of scripted out, but it helps when you script it out, is what I'm getting at, I think.
Absolutely. But my point is, sometimes people think that, okay, I scripted all my content, so I planned it. So for instance, I think that people don't usually make keyword research to see, okay, I have this business on this given time. I
Mm-hmm.
want to sell this. Which keywords are people searching for instance, on Google? So I can point my content to there and give that answers to people.
Yeah, I mean, well, so keyword research, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, you have to, like, if you're going to do a live video, for example, let's say it's on YouTube, you know, a lot of people, they just, you know, here's what they do. They run a live video, they stream it out to their YouTube channel, and then they don't spend the time to go in and optimize it properly. And that's doing the keyword research, picking a title, putting the metadata, the meta description, putting the tags. They aren't spending the time doing that, you know, because a lot of times it's just like, okay, push it out there. And then now it's like on to the next thing. And the thing is, you can get a lot more value out of it if you spend that little bit of time that it takes to optimize that content. And I will say this, optimizing video is not a one-off thing. I don't optimize the video and just leave it. I optimize it, I let it run, and then I look at my analytics and see how well did this perform? Are there certain things that I need to change? For example, maybe I'm optimizing it, but I don't have the right tags. So maybe I'll add some tags or remove ones that are underperforming. But you do need to spend the time going in and optimizing the content. That's not just the live video, that's also the written content. You know, you also need to do the same thing there as well. And it's virtually the same process. So people need to spend the time, not just like they need to spend the time planning out their content. What are they going to publish? When they're going to what are they going to publish? When are they going to publish it? And then using social media, for example, maybe even live video, using those two vehicles to get the word out about the content.
Yeah, and it's another important topic when you, because again, and I heard once Neil Patel saying the biggest problem about content, it's not the quality of the content, is the diffusion, the promotion of the content.
No,
what
absolutely.
what do you, what do you think about this?
Promotion is key. You know, like I'll give you an example. So if we look at like Hollywood, okay, so a movie comes out. So they make the movie like fantastic. The movie's out there, but how do they get, you know, a lot of buzz circulating around it? You know, for example, one thing they do is they then go on all the talk shows, for example. So they go on bigger networks that have the ability to reach a wider audience. So they go on the talk show, for example, and they're not just there to like, hey, oh, I just happen to be here. It's scheduled out. They know that this movie's going to come out. This person then is going to be on that show, and they're going to talk about maybe a little bit about themselves, but it's also going to be, hey, you got a new movie coming out, you got a new book, and so forth. You know, so people. So for example, what they're doing with the movie side, they're leveraging the bigger audience who's tuning in. So you might want to look at it the same way with your content. So even if you don't have those relationships, you can still be doing a lot more. For example, I can go, once I have created my content, I can then go and network with other people or participate in other areas. For example, it could be like, let's say, for example, okay, I'm on Marco's show here. Let's say now we want to get the word out about this. Marco could go to other channels or other avenues. You could be like, well, hey, someone's got a podcast, hey, what are you up to, Marco? Oh, I did this great interview. We talked about, X, Y, and Z. This is my podcast, for example. That's a way for him to get the word out. And it's not always just shamelessly plugging yourself. It's being in the right places. So, for example, if you're going to be, if it's like a podcast, for example, one way you can get the word out would be, well, hey, let me go join other podcasting communities and talk to, and interact with those people there. Because a lot of times they'll have, for example, on say there's a Facebook group for podcasters, they'll have, like, hey, Marketing Monday, share like your latest win or something like that, or share your latest episode. And it's a place for you to promote yourself. So, you could take that same Hollywood model and apply it to yourself. It's, you know, maybe on a smaller scale, but you have to do more to promote it. And promoting is key. I mean, if you don't promote it, no one's going to know about it. You have to remember that. You know, promoting it in communities, promoting it to your email list. So if you don't have an email list, by the way, start setting one up. You know, get the right people on your email list. Don't just get everyone, you know, don't get your brother and your sister and, you know, your aunt and uncle and your parents. Like, it's great to have them on
Can't.
your email. It's great to have them on your email list, but if they're not potentially ever going to become a customer, like, you're paying for all those people to be on that list. So you want to cultivate an email list, for example, that has, you know, that has like active people who are interested in what it is you do or what it is you want to talk about.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something that for me it's truly important. And I usually when I do my trainings, one of the things that I notice on my trainees is that sometimes they take their example as the whole example, you know. And you mentioned something that is important. When again, when you're planning your content, you should have in mind, and or at least think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the way my customer acts? It's the same as I act, because sometimes we have in mind, okay, I do these things this way, and I think the whole world acts the same. And okay, I think my product is amazing. Why my customer doesn't think? Because it's not you. Don't you think that is also it's important to, as we like to say, to put the customer shoes and walk through the street
Yeah, no,
to plan.
definitely. Yeah, you need to be in your, you need to put yourself in your customer's shoes, you know, and that applies to like everything that you do. It applies to like, so for example, you know your product, you know your business the best. And so you want to make sure that anything you put out there, for example, to your customers, if there's certain, you know, if you're like, hey, I want my customers to help promote this, how do you help, how do you get them to promote it? Well, the first thing you can do is, you know, just tell them, first of all. That's the first thing. However, let's take it a step further. How do we make it better for them and easier for them to tell their customers, for example? Well, we have to sell them on the features and the benefits. So what's in it for them? But at the same time, the other thing we also want to pay attention to is like what we're doing to help them. So, for example, let's say we want them to promote something. Well, don't just send them a link and say, "Well, hey, I just published this. Why don't, you know? Why don't you create a graphic, for example, for them and send a graphic? Hey, I've got this. You know, I've got this great new like item. You know, love it if you promote it. Here's the link, and hey, I created this custom piece of artwork, for example, to help you." So taking the steps to make it easier for them to promote it, because a lot of times if you just tell people about it, yeah, they'll say yes, they're going to promote it, but at the same time they're going to probably forget about it. So
Absolutely. And the other thing, Christian, is that, and again, we should have in mind that even though we may have people who buys the same thing,
mm-hmm.
they consume the content in different ways, in different platforms. They value different things in content. So another big good thing you should have in mind when you plan it is how, for instance, how you can, using live streaming as an example, and we always talk about it, how you can reuse a piece of content made on a live stream in different ways that you can achieve, that you can impact a broader audience and the different kinds of customers you have.
So one way that you can go about repurposing that content is to create micro content. So for example, if you have a 1 hour piece of content, 1 hour video, what you can do is you can run it, for example, through a tool called like Descript. And so that has, for example, a way to create audiograms. So that might be one way to repurpose. In addition to that, there's some tools. So you can use later. Let me get the exact link for you guys. So it's called a later. Actually, I think it's called a later. Later. Let me see. So it's an artificial intelligence tool, and so basically what it does is it will, you put the content in and it will spit out pieces of it for you.
Oh, great.
Actually, it's called, let me see. I think it's called Laterly. Let me just double check. But basically, the tool, for example, you take the video, you put the video in, and it will create those smaller pieces of content, that you can then put out on your social media channels. And then what you can do with that, let's just say, for example, you have this 1 hour video and you want to put it, or you want to create some additional content off of it. What you could do is you take the video, you can drop it into some of the tools, they'll spit out little chunks of pieces of it. And then you can, for example, then go into a tool, maybe say like an Agora Pulse, and you can create a queue feature. And basically it's basically buckets. So it's like bucket, like 3 buckets. And you can dump the content in there. So it could be a tweet that you've written with one of these pieces of video. And then what you can have happen is, if you want to, let's just say you want that content to constantly pulling from the bucket, and you don't have to do it every time. When you put it into the queue, it will actually then go and pull from the bucket and pull a piece of content. So if you spend the time up front writing all of the short little snippets of the piece of video, you're able to drip them out over time, as opposed to doing your video once and then hoping that people saw it that first time. So this way you stay top of mind to your customers and your viewers and your audience.
Absolutely. It's very important. Well, we are coming almost to the end. So I think it's good to make a kind of wrap up about this on planning content. Which 3 advices will you give to someone who wants to plan properly content?
Well, I think, okay, so the first thing is let's see. So if you want to properly plan your content, well, I think if you don't know what to talk about, ask your customers first. So ask your customers, make a list somewhere. For example, if you're using, it could be Google Drive, Evernote, Notion, any of those tools, make a list of all of the questions, the common questions you get from your customers, and then turn those into blog posts, or a blog post and a video. So first thing would be to make sure you know what questions your customers are asking. Don't just assume you know. So interact with your customers on your social media channels, ask them what you can help them with or what their pain points are. Second thing would be, if you don't have an email list, start building an email list. Every time you communicate with your customers, for example, if you're doing a live video, your live video should have a point where you tell people, hey, I am doing, I have an email list. If you want to get on it, here's what the benefits are, and here's where you go sign up. So get them on the email list, make sure you are getting the right people on that list, and then make sure you're messaging them, obviously. And then the third thing is, after you've created the content, make sure you go and you do the promotion afterwards. You have to be promoting the content. It's not just a one and done deal.
Absolutely.
A lot of people think it's one and done, and they're not going, they're going to move on. You'll get the most mileage if you take the time to create, plan out the content, so it makes it easier for you. So it's less stressful in the planning process. You don't know, well, hey, what am I doing this week or next week, and so forth. Once you've planned out the content, then you want to get it on a schedule. So maybe buy one of those big calendars you can put on your wall and just plan out what you're going to do and hold yourself accountable. If you're never, for example, if you've never done this before, don't say, well, hey, I'm going to publish 5 pieces of content every day. Let's start small. Hey, I'm going to get 1 done a week, or I'm going to get 1 done a month, or 2 a month, every couple of weeks. Get yourself conditioned to be a content producing machine, and then supplement that with micro content. So basically take the content, do a really good job at making the content. And then once you're finished with the content, make sure you go and you repurpose it so that you can stay top of mind to your customers throughout all parts of the year.
Absolutely. And I'm curious about the tool you mentioned. We'll look at it after the show ends, because it sounds very good for me. Well, Christian, before you leave, you have to leave your suggestions on my session of the guest suggestions. So in this section, I will ask you some suggestions, shout out some professional that you think that my audience should take a look at. A book, a tool, a habit you have, a movie, and a TV show.
Okay, wow, I got a lot. It's okay. You're gonna have to walk me through this. Okay,
I
so what's
will
the first question?
a professional shout out.
Hmm. Let's see. I'd say my friend Jessica Phillips. So,
Okay,
if you're interested in learning about building relationships, she's your person to talk to. She's all about building relationships. She owns Now Marketing Group. So, good friend of mine, definitely someone you want to get connected with.
okay, perfect. Tool.
So I'll talk about the one that we talked about today, actually. And so it's called Lately. Sorry, I got the name a little bit mixed up because there's a couple of different tools that are similar. It's called Lately, and you can check it out at trylately.com. And that one's where you can drop in your content and it will help spit out all of the micro pieces of content that you need.
Well, I'm curious about it. A book.
Book. Let's see. I'd probably say Greg McEwen. The book is called Essentialism, the Disciplined Pursuit of Less. That's probably
Okay,
probably one of my favorite ones.
it seems interesting. Thinking about the topic we talked today, a habit you have.
Hmm. Maybe let's see. That's a good question. I like things to be as I will say this. It's good and bad habit. I like things to be perfect. So from a content production standpoint, though, you also have to remember you don't want to spend all of your time trying to get it perfect. You want to get it published. So it's what you can ship. And I give the shipping analogy. So you get the product in the best possible form that it can be, and then you ship it. You don't, okay, I'm going to keep moving the goalpost. I'm going to get it. Oh, it's not done. It's not done. It's not done. It's not done. Ship it
Yeah,
and then improve. So
absolutely.
in my case, like sometimes I'll have a tendency to spend a little too much time on a piece of content. Instead, get it out there and you can always remember, you can always go back and improve it. That's the key thing you have to remember.
Absolutely. A very, very good habit. A movie.
Movie. Let's see. What is this? Like a favorite movie or like?
Yeah, it could be.
I'd go with like I think I like Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, good. Very good. Very
I
good.
realize that one's. I think that I want to say that's an older movie now. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard to
yeah.
say like, oh, it's actually a new movie. It's
First time that movie.
do what?
it's
What was that?
it's a movie. It's a movie you can watch all the time. I don't think that it's not a timed movie. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's absolutely.
I always
And
and I here's the thing. I always go back and watch that one, and always I'm like, okay, so are there certain points where you can pick up, not to give all the things away, but are there certain points in the movie that you can pick up to help you get you closer to the ending? So,
abs- yeah, absolutely. And to finish, a TV show.
I will say, I do like watch. I've been watching Schitt's Creek, so that one's actually it's pretty funny, pretty good. I like the fact that the episodes are around 20 to 25 minutes. So if I want to sit down and watch one, it's not it's not like, oh, I got to sit down and watch 2 hours of content. So I do like the fact that I can binge on a 20, 25-minute episode.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you so much. Where do people can find you, Christian?
Great question. So, let's see. So I mentioned earlier, so I'm at CKROKS. That's my personal Twitter account. But on all my social media channels, I'm at Social Chefs if you want to check that out, and at Launch Your Live if you want to check that out as well.
Perfect, perfect. Well, Christian, thank you so much. It was a very insightful conversation. We will keep in touch because we have some more things ahead to that will be bring to life to light soon. So, for
Definitely.
all of you who were watching us, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Please let me know if you have any questions. If you want to make some question to Christian, please tag him so he can come and answer you. Okay, and don't forget also to follow these suggestions because I will run to look at them and let some suggestions that you may also think that could be useful for you. Okay, so have a nice week. We will see you soon. Bye bye.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Bye bye.